any donor breast milk available. So nurses came to me and said, there is another lady named Mrs. Castaneda. She had a premature baby 2 weeks ago, 32-week gestation. She's very reliable. She lives very close to the hospital. She's negative for HIV, RPR, Hep B, rubella immune, CVMV was not tested at that time. And she has plenty of more than what her child requires and well tolerated by her son. And there is no reason to suspect any bacterial contamination, and she is likely to agree. So why can't we use her milk? That was the question raised. So I met with Mrs. Castaneda, and she agreed in a heartbeat. There's no mother who does not want to help somebody else. So she agreed immediately. I said, don't you need to talk to your husband? So this is what she told me. She said, those are my boobs. I have 100% control over it. I don't need my husband's permission for it. So I said, thank you very much. So then I met with the CEO and the lawyers of the hospital, and they had no problem with this. As long as we get a consent from the donor and the father, we are fine with that. So then I met with the father, and he was fine with that because he knew that formula was not a good choice. So we started using mother's raw milk. This lady, Mrs. Castaneda, would come to the NICU at particular time, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, for her own child. So as soon as she expresses milk, we would give it to this baby that was, who lost her mother. So we continued that for about 3 to 4 days. And believe me, my colleagues were very critical. You can imagine in the United States, the litigation and the whole thing. They were just very, very critical. I don't blame them. Dr. Louis Pasteur a long time ago. And even before that, 1831 was done. So the basic principle is that you take a liquid, which is at room temperature of 4 degrees, you warm it over a period of time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, and bring it to 62.5 degrees centigrade, plus minus. Then you maintain that for about half an hour, and then you cool it down. And that is the basic principle of pasteurization. So by doing that, you will kill almost all the viruses with the exception of hepatitis B. We also know even COVID is cured by pasteurization. And with the exception of what is called the bacterium species, all the bacteria are cured. So this is the process which is called the pasteurization. And it is also called holder pasteurization because you're holding for about half an hour. And that's why it's called holder pasteurization. Okay? You are with me? So I already showed you the pasteurization cycle. So having tremendous amount of search done, I spent like one whole afternoon. And one thing good about Google, you put different words at different times, you are meaning the same thing, it comes out with some information. Okay? So when I did that, after some time I came to know about this machine that I'm showing, which is called the Safeguard. And that was available somewhere in the Midwest, somewhere in Ohio. So I called this person, his name is Bill. So I said, Bill, I understand you have a pasteurizer available. So he said, Dr. Devaskar, we use it in the dairy industry. And it is a very big machine. And my father developed it a long time ago, and it can be used. And he said, only thing it will do is this. You plug it in, put your milk or whatever you want to do, and automatically it will warm. It will stay for half an hour, and the whistle will go, and you know that pasteurization is done. But we do not have a mechanism by which we can make it colder. So he said, you remove the milk, put ice, make it cold, you're done. I said, fine, this is fine. So it was a Friday afternoon when I talked to him. He FedExed it to me. I got the machine on Saturday morning. I had one very good nurse who was very interested in this. So she really helped me using this machine. And we used all the mother's milk that was frozen, that was given by Mrs. Castaneda. We pasteurize it using this technology and use it for the baby. In the meanwhile, we called the donor breast milk bank in San Jose, and I said, we really need milk. Even though we do not have a license, please be kind to us. We really need the milk. So they said, fine, we'll do it here. So they sent it to us, and we didn't have to do this. But this is what the machine looks like. It's a very simple prototype that I developed, which is basically there is a lid on the top. There is an outside chamber where all the water is there. There is an inside chamber where you put in breast milk, and there is an electrical outlet, and there is sort of an electrical connection inside. And this is what my idea was about the breast milk, the pasteurizer. Okay? So I started thinking, if I can have a pasteurizer that is easy to use, I can do everything else that donor breast milk will do. And the problems with existing pasteurizers are as follows, and there are two of them. One is called HSC, which is made in France, and there is another called Sterifield, which is made in England. First of all, they are very expensive. Initial cost $40,000 to $50,000. It requires a lot of space. Water is not recyclable. Believe me, even in cities like Los Angeles, there are times when there is not enough water. It requires special plumbing and electrical connection. It requires, it is not automated. It is not user-friendly by any chance. You cannot pasteurize small amount of milk, and it uses plastic bottles. And as you know, rest of the world is trying now to get away with plastic as much as possible. So with this thing or this idea in my mind, I met with Dr. Gandh, who is the biomedical engineer professor at UCLA. So I met with him, started talking for about 2 hours or so. And he said, oh, Dr. Devaskar, this is a very good idea. But for you to make a machine like that, it will cost $500,000. I have to hire a faculty, I have to hire a fellow, I have to have the first prototype and this and that. And eventually we will require FDA approval. So if you are willing to put in $500,000, we can work on this project. So I said, Dr. Gandh, thank you very much. I don't have enough money. So that is when I knew a friend of mine, Dr. Sudhir Wagmare. And I had worked with him almost 25 years ago. This was in 2017. I met with him 25 years ago. He was interested in developing CPAP and ventilators and so on. Then after that, I had lost contact with him. So I said, you know, this is the right person, I should call him. I didn't even know whether he existed, quite honestly, you know. So I did some Google and I found out that he's there. So we met. I told him I'm coming in December to India, let's meet. And this was like in August or something. So he said, okay, let's meet. So we met. I was there as a neonatologist. Dr. Shilpa Kalane is a neonatologist from Pune. Dr. Vishaka Haridas is a lactation consultant also from Pune. Dr. Wagmare, he's from Shares Medical, is a mastermind, and second mastermind is Mr. Akshay Kharche, who is here. And we had a very nice session for almost one whole afternoon. And first decision was, okay, is it necessary to even have a pasteurizer like this one? And I said, Sudhir, there is going to be a tremendous need for donor breast milk in the future. Trust me, there's going to be tremendous need. There will be more need for it than we can provide. So we concluded that, okay, we should develop a machine. Okay. So I left in December. By what 2 or 3 months, Akshay and Sudhir got together and developed the first model of Kimi, or the pasteurizer. Okay. This is the first model. So my idea was we can pasteurize 300 cc's, one mother, and run the cycle. So he did that. And we, after it was done, we showed it to some meetings, and people gave some other ideas and so on. And we recognized that one mother's milk at a time is not going to be enough, and 300 cc's also may not be enough. You need a bigger model or better model. So in another 3 months or so, we developed another model, which is the second Kimi one, and it still had only one cylinder but slightly higher capacity, and he was able to rotate that particular thing. So by the way, before I say why we decided to call it as Kimi, so the baby that was premature, her name was Kimioni. Okay. And none of us could pronounce that properly. So nurses started calling her Kimi. And she gave me the inspiration to do this. And that's why I said, Sudhir, we should call it as Kimi. And that will be a common name all over the world. So that's why it's called Kimi. Anyway, so the second model was done. We used it for some period of time. And we recognized that that was still not good enough. Because it was doing only one mother's milk at a time. And we recognized that there is more and more need for this. So we said, okay, instead of having one area, we can have 6 cylinders. Okay, we can have 6 cylinders. And now we can have maybe 6 different moms' breast milk. And each one, I think, has a capacity at that time of 100 cc's. So we can pasteurize 5 of them, because one of them is used for water at the control. So this is our Kimi third product, and we were very happy with this. Very, very happy with this. After I started using Kimi at UCLA, we had a baby with severe combined immunodeficiency. It's called SCID. And this baby is at a very high risk for developing CMV infection from the mother's breast milk. So the allergy immunology person called me. He said, Uday, I heard you have pasteurizer. I said, yes. So he said, this mother is positive for CMV antibodies. Chances are 80 to 90% that she will start expressing CMV virus in her breast milk. And if you give it to this baby, Jacob is his name, baby has a significant chance of developing CMV infection. And if he does that, not only he can die from it, he will not be a good candidate for a bone marrow transplant. He said, can you pasteurize the milk? I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll be happy to do it. So we started using the Kimi 500, as I call it. As time went on, within less than a month, the mom was making a lot of milk. She was making a lot of milk. And I had to run the machine like 3-4 times in a day to be able to do that much of milk. And we continued doing that, believe me, for 14 months. Mom was very committed to give donor breast milk. So we did that. And then when I called Sudhir, I said, Sudhir, this is not going to work. We need a bigger machine than what you can do. So he said, fine, Dr. Devaskar, I'll do it for you. So within the next few months, he developed the next machine, which is called the Kimi 3000, which can pasteurize 3000 cc at a time. Unfortunately, by the time the baby are already gone home, but we have subsequently used this machine. So this is basically, if I may say, evolution of Kimi, which happened with time. So after the machine was developed, we did a clinical study. So in city called Pune, at that NICU, which I'm the honorary director for more than 20 years now, they were using a machine which is called the HSC, which is coming from France, like I mentioned. So that was their standard for using the pasteurization, right? So we compared about 100 samples. Okay, we used initial culture, then we used pasteurized using HSC, and we pasteurized using Kimi, and we did about 100 samples. And we were able to show that, with the exception of one, almost all of them were negative after the pasteurization. So we felt very, very comfortable that machine is doing its job because very comparable results with the HSC. And I'm just showing you the top part of it. I have the entire document, which I think I'm going to give you at some point. So we felt very comfortable. This machine is doing its job just like any other machine would do. So we did a bacterial aggregator testing, as I mentioned. And to date, the hospital that is really using this technology a lot is called KEM Hospital in Pune. They have just bought on this whole thing. And they must have done more than 1,000 samples of breast milk that they would culture after the pasteurization. And they have not seen maybe exception of 1 or 2 babies that still had some bacteria. And I can assure you it is because of the mishandling of the breast milk, not because of the machine at all. It was human contamination rather than the machine not doing its job. So I feel very comfortable at this point to say that if you do not have the technology to do bacterial culture, do not worry about it, because we feel very comfortable that this machine is going to get rid of all the bacteria. And with the exception of hepatitis B, it will get rid of all the viruses, including the COVID-19. So if it is possible, which is what the human test requires, yes, we will continue to do culture, no problem. But let that not be the limiting factor for you. And I came to know yesterday that you are able to do bacterial cultures here, which takes some time. By the time the results come back, and is delaying the baby getting from out. But just keep that in mind. So routine testing may not be necessary in the rest of the world. So what are the advantages of Kimi compared to the other machines that are available? It is totally automated. And I must give tremendous credit to this team from Pune. You know, anyone can have a good idea. People have very good ideas. And some of the medical students come to me and they have fantastic ideas. It is the execution that is not easy to do. Okay. So I give them tremendous credit for that. So this machine is totally automated. It is user friendly, and I call it as idiot proof. I can teach anybody to use this machine. And it requires minimum training. In one afternoon, I can teach how to do this. The freezing and the thawing is at the minimum. So the more times you freeze and thaw, you are losing some proteins at some important activities. So if you can minimize freezing and thawing, that would be a good thing to do. It is certainly less expensive, no doubt about that. And it requires much less space than the other machines do. You can run the machine several times in a day. Like I told you, I ran it once 4 times, back to back. And the water is recycled. And like I said again, even in Los Angeles, there is a shortage of water sometimes. So this world is short of water many times. And according to his calculation, the cost for one cycle at that time was like 50 cents. So this is the advantage that you have about using Kimi compared to whatever is available in the market. The most important for me was that it can pasteurize small volumes, because all the other bigger machines are reading like 500 cc, 1000 cc, something like that. So like I told you, the name came because of Chiomoni, and we call it as Kimi. Now it has undergone several revisions, like I explained to you, and extensive bacteriological testing at our hospital as well as KEM hospital. In year 2018, it got obtained European, what is called the ECU certification of compliance, and for human breast milk. In the United States, breast milk or pasteurizer does not require FDA approval. And I did not believe Sudhir keep telling me that. I said, in USA everything is tough. He said, Dr. Devaskar, I'm telling you, you do not require FDA approval. So then I contacted FDA several times, and I did a lot of search, and actually that was true, because it is considered as a catering device. It is not considered a medical device. So that made my life very easy, that I do not have to go through FDA, because that can take you years and years. And I was able to import that under a commodity license called code 94 whatever. Okay. So at the present time, Kimi has been used in India at several places, several hospitals, and we actually help a group in Sri Lanka, which is where also I do some work. So they have been using that for a while, and I have used at a Centinela hospital, which is sort of a affiliate with UCLA, for more than 4 years. And mostly I did it for research purposes, because they would not allow me to actually give it to the regular set of patients that we have. So I had tremendous experience. I did most of the work on my own. So this is our team to start with. On my left side is a technician who helped me with this. On my right side is another technician, and then this is Dr. Sudhir Wagmare. Okay. So he actually came to UCLA once I bought the machine, I think around 2019. He showed me how to use it and things like that. So I had to recognize some important people. So on the, let's say, on your left side is the hospital where I work in India. It's called Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital. This was built by a very famous lady named Lata Mangeshkar, and she built this hospital in memory of her dad. So when I talked to Mariah Carey, I said, have you heard the name of Lata Mangeshkar? She said, yeah, I know her. I would love to meet her. And unfortunately, she was not able to do it. So the team on the other side are lactation consultants. One of them is a physician, another one is a bacteriologist who did all the cultures for me. So I really am very thankful to them regarding whatever help they have provided. So it's a team effort. I had the idea to do this. Our team executed it from the main in the machine, and the rest of the folks helped in doing the clinical study, including bacterial cultures and so on and so on. So at this time I was around maybe 70 years of age, and people saying, why are you getting into this kind of stuff? And I said, there is only one driving force for me, which is my granddaughter. Her name is Mara. So this picture is, I think, mentioned maybe 6. So about 3 years ago, it was my job to pick her up from the school, and it was like 4:30 in the evening or in the afternoon. It was pretty hot. So I drive a Toyota van. So I was driving in the front. My granddaughter is sitting in the back, and she's telling me, Grandpa, I'm feeling very hot. Can you increase the AC? So I said, yeah, I'll do that. So I increased the AC. I said, you know what, it will, by the time it gets cold, it will take some time. So why don't you just open the window, and that will make it a little cooler than it is. So she said, no, Grandpa, you're not supposed to do that. I said, why? She said, Corona will come. So I said, who told you this? So you know what she said? She said, everybody knows. So I felt really bad. I said, as a physician, I do not know this, but my 7 or 8-year-old granddaughter knows this, and the rest of the world knows this. Anyway, so she's really the driving force for me to do this kind of things. Okay, so any questions so far regarding the genesis of Kimi and how is it different and so on. So like I mentioned earlier, with crisis come challenges and opportunities. So we cashed on that. Second point, engineers and others also want to do good things for the babies, just like we do in medical profession. So it is important for us to interact with them and say, this is the problem, this is how you can solve them. And that marriage or that chemistry has been just for last year. And I think there are some other things that we can do together, engineering and medicine and so on. Okay, thank you very much. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You stated that you continue to do bacteriologic testing in the USA, but routine testing may not be necessary in the rest of the world. Can you please speak more about that?
So can you repeat that? We are doing
why routine testing may not be necessary
yes
in the rest of the world.
Yes. So there is a very big association which we'll talk about later, which is called the Donor Breast Milk Bank Association of America or North America, and they have very strict guidelines about everything. They want you to do culture before and after pasteurization, and we say, why would you do culture before? It makes no sense because they are going to have bacteria. What is important is to do after the pasteurization. Okay? But I recognize, and by the way, I made this machine not to be used in the USA. My idea was to use it for the rest of the world, where resources are very limited, money is not there, and so on. Okay? Anyway, so we have done enough cultures to say that it is very safe. And just recognize that not every hospital is able to do bacterial culture that easily, and it takes 2 to 3 days before the results are back. And baby is starving during that time. So I feel very comfortable that if you do not have the facility, do not worry about it. But if you can do it, it's a good thing to do. Okay, because we have done more than 1,000.
Any more questions for Doctor?
So other question I keep getting a lot is what are the side effects of using donor breast milk? Okay. And of course we know that. So no doubt about it that there are some losses in protein, particularly secretory IgA, and I think I'll probably talk about it later on. So there are certain things that happen, but all the studies that are done in vitro, meaning somebody took the breast milk, measured this secretory IgA and proteins and so on, pasteurized the milk, then measured it again, and there is a 5 to 10% loss of whatever. Okay. Nobody has showed clinically that it has any clinical implication. And if you look at the biology in many ways, things that are very important, you are given a lot more than you need. Look at the surfactant, for example, in the lung. A normal baby has like 10 to 20 times more surfactant than what is necessary. So same thing with the other secretory IgA and so on. There is already quite a bit of it. So even if there is slight loss, it is of no clinical significance. Because we have been using donor breast milk pasteurized from 1980s or even before that. So if there are any major clinical problem, we would have known by this time. So small loss in secretory IgA and so on is of no clinical significance. Okay, so do not worry about it. Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adamastor.
Yes, sir, you have a question?
Please, thank you very much for your presentation. During the presentation, you made mention that during the process at a 62.5 degrees Celsius, the virus is to be destroyed, except that is B.
Yeah.
I want to know, does that mean that because of that process, you will not be able to screen the donors before?
Yeah. So whenever you're using donor breast milk, you need to ask questions to the mom and also have some information. And the most important from all of them is whether she's positive for hepatitis B or not, B or C both. Okay? If she's positive for rubella, she's positive for HIV, she's positive for CMV, doesn't matter, because pasteurization, very well established, will kill all these things. Okay? So my suggestion here would be to, if the mother is positive for hepatitis B, prefer not to take breast milk, and that information would be important. But chances of having hepatitis B are relatively small, and even after pasteurization, the virulence of the bacteria, of virus is much less. Okay? But prefer not to take Hep B.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So it means that if I have a kid and I have a mom who is HIV positive,
Okay, sorry.
I'm saying if I have the Kimi pasteurizer
Yeah.
and I have a mom who is HIV positive,
Yes.
I can be using the Kimi for the mother's own milk to pasteurize.
Yes. Yeah. So we had a patient some time ago, just like the severe combined immunodeficiency, and this mom was very particular that she really wanted to give breast milk. So I talked to her, and we pasteurized her milk for some time, almost maybe a month or so. And so it is very well established that even HIV and COVID, like I mentioned, is cured whenever you pasteurize it, right? And there's something magic about 62.5 degrees centigrade. You know, if you take a shower, the temperature is not 100 degrees; it is 62.5. If you use a dishwasher, the temperature is 62.5 or around that. It's not 100 degrees. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
This is a follow-up.
Yes.
Follow-up question to the screening mothers who have HIV.
Right.
In that case, would the ideal be getting maybe a chemi that is for, retroviral, cases? Because we know that, for places that you know they are prevalent or something, you have a designated chemi for that, and then you have one for others. Would that be a practical way to go? Or if you're under-resourced, you could, how does it go? Is it that you'll be changing filters, or, just the dynamics is what I would like to appreciate? Thank you.
Yes, so I got the question. So if there is a way, you can avoid that mother also not be considered as a donor breast milk. That would be a good thing to do. I don't have any problem. But if that is the only mom available, you can pasteurize the milk, because I'm very comfortable in saying that HIV is cured by using the pasteurizer. So that is one scenario. Another scenario I mentioned about is mother is positive for HIV and she wants to do breastfeeding. Until very recently, I'm talking about less than 6 months ago, American Academy has changed their mind. And they are saying that it would be okay to give breast milk even if mother is HIV positive, assuming the load is not that high. Until 6 months ago, our people were driving me crazy that she is HIV positive, she wants to breastfeed, we cannot do it, we have to give formula. But things have changed. So I think there are two scenarios, whether donor or her own child.
Hello. Please, I want to find out from the presentation. I realized that I saw low temperature pasteurization, if I'm right. And from what a bit that I was exposed to, I realized that high temperature pasteurization was very effective in inactivating most viruses and bacteria.
Yeah.
But on the presentation, I saw low temperature pasteurization from your slide, if I'm right. So I'm thinking about it. And you just also said that during the pasteurization, most of the bacteria become ineffective, or it kills most of them.
So you're talking about short-term high temperature?
Yes, so I'm thinking what's the relation between the high temperature pressure and the low temperature, and how they relate to the bacteria inactivation and then the virus inactivation.
Okay. So 62.5, like I said, kills most of the viruses with the exception of hepatitis B. And it will kill all of the bacteria except for what is called the bacterial species. Now there is another technology that has been developed which you can do a short term at 72 degrees. But it is not available commercially, number one, and they have not tested all the details that one needs to do. So I think it's in the pipeline, but at the present time the technology is not commercially available. I hope I answered your question. No?
I think I'm clear with that, but also I wanted to know that the timing matters in that. The timing duration.
The duration.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so this was something that was developed by Dr. Louis Pasteur long time ago. So nobody has really studied again, whether if you do it for only 15 minutes, is that good, or should you go for 45 minutes?
Exactly.
And no one, to my knowledge, has studied that. This has become a standard, and actually they developed initially for beer and some other things. You know. So we have not studied that, but that's a good point. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So, breast milk has good bacteria.
Yes. Yes. So that is the disadvantage to some extent, that you're killing good bacteria. Yes. No doubt.
We are killing good
Yeah,
bacteria.
definitely. So we did cultures, like I said, in India, almost 80% of them had 2 bacteria, and about 20% of them had only 1 bacteria. But they all are positive. But they are not necessarily good bacteria. There are, Staph aureus, Staph epi, Klebsiella, those kind of things. We did the same study at UCLA. We did 32 samples, and out of the 32, I think about 28 had some bacteria. Some of them 2 bacteria, most of them aren't. But there are 4 samples that were negative for any culture. So I think one can assume that there is going to be some bacteria. But lactose, bacillus and all that, you're going to kill them, no doubt. So that's the negative part of pasteurization.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adebaska. Very interactive session. Yes, would like to invite Mr. Askin Cash to take us through the mechanism of the Kimi pasteurizer.
Good morning, respected professors, doctors, students, and gentlemen and ladies. I am here for presentation of mechanics of machine. This is a total technical presentation, and this machine, Kimi, is the baby of concept of Dr. Devaskar. I appreciate his efforts, his work, and I appreciate and congratulate Dr. Cecilia for her great project in Ghana, and I appreciate my design team from India, Dr. Sudhir, my wife Aparna, for machine design help. Now I will start this presentation. This is the mechanics of KB fully automatic human milk pasteurization machine. This is the pasteurization cycle overview. This ambient temperature human milk, we heat it up to 62.5 degrees Celsius. We heat the milk up to 62.5 degrees Celsius, and then we hold that milk for 62.5 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes, and we then cool it down rapidly to 4 degrees Celsius. And this is the pasteurization cycle. All you may be knowing all this cycle. This is the mechanical layout and functional highlights of the machine. This machine has one tray. This is 3-liter Kimi machine. This machine has total 15 cylinders or 15 containers which holds the mother milk. Out of that, one container is the dummy container where we sense the temperature of the milk, and all other 14 container we can put like maximum 200 ml of mother milk. So it can pasteurize maximum 2800 in this tray, and then hold and cool it using all these mechanics. Actually, they're like it has some highlights, like it has hot water tank inside the machine. This is like total technical presentation. If anybody is interested more deeply, he can contact me afterward. So there is one hot water tank and there is one cold water tank. This water is circulated through tray using some solenoids and pump, and in the tray there is one thing, that there is the partition in the tray. This partition is used that ensures the water level remain constant on the milk side, because all that container should be, or all that cylinder which holds the milk, it should be dipped inside the water to get transfer heat from water to milk and afterward for cooling down. And there is in this tray there is like inlet for hot water inlet and hot water outlet. Same cold water inlet and cold water outlet is there, and there is drainage system also, because after completion of heating cycle or after holding, we have to drain all that hot water to hot water tank and to drain cold water to cold water tank. So this is the overall layout of machines, which has multiple solenoids, multiple pumps, and like this. These are chiller and heater like this. Pumps the water from hot water tank, and this water is heated using the heater inside the hot water tank, and that pump P1 pump the water from hot water tank to tray using these solenoids. Green solenoids I have shown, S1 and S3. That water circulate through tray and coming back to hot water tank, and this circulation is continuously on in heat and hold mode. That's how water circulates during heat and hold mode. And after completion of heating and holding cycle, we that machine has to drain all that hot water to hot water tank. So this is the drain cycle after completion of heat and hold cycle, just for 10-15 seconds. Now this is the pre-cool cycle, what I explained. This is parallel operation during heat and hold. Pre-cool pump 2 takes the water from cold water tank, pass it to chiller, and again that water is coming back to cold tank, and it takes that water to 4 degrees Celsius. So it will be useful during cooling for fast cooling of milk, rapid cooling. And this is the cool mode. So after hold that cold water is circulated to pump to chiller, and using this solenoids it is circulated through tray, so that 62.5 degrees Celsius milk suddenly drops up to 4 degrees Celsius. This is the cool cycle. And after completion of cooling up to 4 degrees Celsius, again that water goes to cool tank, that is cool drain mode. And this is all like technical things. Actually, I don't that is not clinical. I don't know, but these are the things. This is the mechanics of machine. There is controller unit in this machine, Kimi machine, and I am explaining some key features of that. Like it has, like on the left hand side you can see there are total 5 sensors, which I explained earlier. Then for human machine interface, 7-inch screen is there, touch screen is there, which controls all the machine cycle. Data logging is possible through USB pen drive at the end of cycle. Then there is at the output side, it has heating element, cooling element, and some valves. And key features is precisely it controls the 62.5 within plus minus 0.1 degrees Celsius using PID loop. There is a wall sequencing. All walls are electrically actuated, fail-safe design, which interlocks prevent hot and cold water mixing. And there is sampling of temperature by each point at every 0.2 second to control the temperature accurately. And on the user interface, user can see, set, start the cycle, and real-time temperature versus time chart on the screen. And data logging, you can take on the pen drive all the backup for traceability. You can use that thing. This is the main screen, which is 7-inch screen. What I am explaining you. This green color shows the cycle time. This blue color on below with big font, that is showing the milk temperature. And on the below one On the small font, there is one temperature display, that is the tray water temperature. And on the right hand side, that is the cool water tank temperature. So user can understand how the cycle is going on and like that. And it shows which cycle is going on, like which mode it is going on. On the right hand side, you can see the levels, 2 levels in the tank. If they are empty, it will show it is empty. And on the these LEDs, there are total 6 LEDs. 6 LEDs are showing the status of cycle, that heat is going on, or hold is going on, or cooling is going on, pre-cooling, drain 1 and drain 2. And this is the data log file. When you import that data on the PC using pen drive, on the left hand side you can open that file using Excel sheet, and you can plot the graph like this. The light is showing the heating up to 62.5, maintaining for 30 minutes, and rapidly cooling up to 4 degrees Celsius. This is the data.
About the history of donor human milk banks. So this is not a new idea, giving donor breast milk. People have been doing it for a very, very long time. I'm sure you've heard of what is called the wet nurses. In historical days, when the queen had a baby, she didn't want to breastfeed and all that, so somebody else was giving it. So giving from another mother is definitely not a good idea. Thanks again. And at the present time, there are about 34 of them, 4 of them in Canada and the United States and rest of the United States. In California, which is where I come from, there was only one for quite some time in San Jose. Very recently, there is another one in San Diego. So only 2 of them are there. And in the year 2003, they formed an association which is called the Human Milk Banking Association of North America. And I'm very appreciative of them, what they have done. I have no problem. But their regulations are so strict and not practical. Like I mentioned, they insisted initially we must do the bacterial culture out of this. So why would I do this? So no, we cannot do this. So no, we cannot show. Anyway, so that's my problem. So what does the donor breast milk banks do? They recruit and screen donors. Most of them, I want you to emphasize, they are delivered at full-term gestation. And they make sure that mom is not a heavy smoker, she's not drinking too much of alcohol, she's HIV negative, HTLV 1 and 2 negative, hepatitis B and C, and so forth. And I argue with them again, why do you want to know this? Yes, hepatitis B, I agree with you, but whether she's RPR positive or not doesn't matter, because pasteurization is going to cater on this. But if you include all those criteria, there will be very few women left who can actually keep it. Collect milk in a clean manner, yes. And keep it frozen, yes. Frozen milk thawed at bank and then it is pulled. Okay. Then pasteurization is done. Almost all of them that I know use the low temperature, what is called the Holder pasteurization. Then they do a bacterial culture. The sample is sent to the bacteria, and even if there is less than one colony, they will accept it. If it is anything more, they say throw them out. And then it is stored, cooled to 10 degrees centigrade for 10 to 15 minutes. Then it is stored at minus 20 degrees centigrade in the bank. And then they distribute it. They shipped it on the frozen ice. Generally costs $5 to $6 from me to buy it. And I must mention here, unlike in India, most of the banks in the United States are privately owned. FDA has nothing to do with that. Now, I agree with them for a long time. I say, you have made all these restrictions, and FDA is not interested in this. So it is a private organization, and when they came to know that I'm doing things on my own, they were very critical of me. And I said, that's fine. Okay. So unlike in India, they are independent. India and other countries are all hospital-based. I think that's how it should be. And my goal is to see that every hospital that delivers, let's say, 1,000 or 1,500 deliveries or more, should have their own donor breast milk. And that is my vision. So when I went through this whole thing, I said, what is it that I cannot do? What is it that I cannot do? The only thing I could not do is to pasteurize. Okay, everything else I can do on my own. I don't need the donor breast milk bank for this. So that is when I came up with the idea that if I develop my own machine, I don't have to have donor breast milk bank. So what are the indications for using donor breast milk? I think some of you already know, but is the mother is unable to provide adequate amount. Still, there are some women in the United States who do not want to give breast milk. They want to give the formula. So there is a refusal. Soon after delivery, either vaginal delivery or C-section, believe me, I have talked to so many patients over and over. They are very committed. They are very interested, and they will do everything possible to get donor breast milk. But it will take them at least minimum of 2 to 3 days before adequate milk is available, no matter how much she will breastfeed. And especially if she had a cesarean section or had pregnancy-induced hypertension or some other complication, it can take 7 to 10 days. That there is not enough milk available. So what do we do during that time? And unfortunately, like this one was, mom died, and it is not uncommon in the rest of the world that the mother has died. This was the first mother that I knew of, I was involved in, that died and created problem for her premature baby. Another thing is unsatisfactory collection practices, and there is a good chance of bacterial contamination. So if the mother is expressing breast milk at home, chances are very good that there is going to be a lot of bacteria in there. So some NICUs in India actually insist for two things. Number one, they will try to see that mom expresses breast milk under their supervision while she's coming to the NICU during the daytime and so on, and use proper hygienic mechanisms and so on. Second thing, and not everybody does it, they will actually pasteurize this mother's milk if she has expressed it at home, because chances of contamination are very high. I'm not recommending it. In the United States, we do not do it. But in India, some of them believe very strongly that if she expresses milk at home, chances of contamination are very high. Mother's milk is not suitable. For example, mother has mastitis or she's on some medications which may come into the breast milk. And there are some contraindications, I must admit that. If the mother has some illness, if for example cancer. I had a lady some time ago, she had breast cancer, both the breasts were removed. She had a baby subsequently and she wanted to give donor breast milk. And it was very difficult for me. And I said, we cannot do it. And we do not do it as an outpatient, everything is inpatient. But there are some situations like that. If mom is on drugs, which is again not uncommon where I come from, cocaine, heroin, amphetamines and so on. The mother has infection herself. We are a patient with listeriosis and we didn't know what to do at that time. And it's becoming more and more popular now in the United States that you're using this as a bridge in the full-term babies. So again, I work in the normal nursery, just like I work in the NICU, same problem. Mother had a C-section or whatever. Some moms, 1 out of 3 maybe or 1 out of 4, are not able to give enough breast milk to their healthy full-term baby. What do? We give formula. But people have started giving donor breast milk if enough is available. And I don't know whether you know, but several years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, there was a tremendous shortage of formula in the United States. I think it was all over the country, but the seminars that were made was not enough. There was some problem with them. So that time we thought about it. We didn't do it. That maybe one can use donor breast milk, pasteurize it, and then give it to the baby. But I think the main indication in your setup, like we talked very briefly yesterday, is this: a baby is born, premature, ready to be fed, and we feed them very early, but there is not enough milk available from the natural mother. In the meanwhile, you have maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 other mothers whose baby is still in the hospital, or maybe they left home, and they are making more milk than what their baby needs. And if you can get some milk from her, pasteurize it and give it to this baby till the natural mother's milk comes in. And that was my idea, to develop the whole machine. Then I get to know about CMV positive and severe combined immunodeficiency and so on and so on. But I think that should be the focus here to start with. Okay? So indications to pasteurize mother's own milk I already mentioned. Reactivation of maternal CMV, I would not worry about it right now. But in the term infants, there are some situations like I mentioned, that mom is positive for HIV. You could consider using it, but it's not easy to do. I can just tell you that. To continue to pasteurize the babies, a couple of months old and so on, is not easy to do, but it can be done. I did it for severe combined immunodeficiency for 14 months because mom was Michelle. She was very, very committed to do that. And babies that are immunocompromised, I already mentioned about severe combined immunodeficiency, but I recognize that there are so many other conditions when the baby is immunocompromised. and then do what is called the CD4 count. If you do a CD4 count and it is less than normal, I think it's 500 is normal. If it is less than that, that baby is immunocompromised. And I was very surprised to find that babies with Down syndrome, some of them have low CD4 counts. And there is a DiGeorge syndrome, and there are a whole bunch of other ones. But I would again not get into that at the present time. So there are other indications to use donor breast milk besides just premature babies. So I keep saying it is not only for premature babies anymore. So what are the indications for using Kimi? And our goal is basically eliminate use of formula and use exclusively human milk. I already mentioned to you the newborn baby waiting for natural mother's milk. Some of them can take up to a week or even more than that. And some of them are positive for HIV, hepatitis D, and so on. And this approach that I mentioned, get from this mom, give it to the other baby, has been used at KM hospital for a very long time. Same thing is happening in Sri Lanka, and they're doing very well. Now understand this. Milk that is expressed by a mom for a premature baby is in a very beneficial, different composition than when the baby is born at full time. They are very high in protein, they are high in immunoglobulins and so on. So that is the real advantage of using Kimi, that we can pasteurize milk very quickly and use it for the baby. So if you want to start a donor breast milk bank, well, what do we need to do? What do we need? And I call it as 5 M's. Number 1, number 2, number 3 is milk, and milk. Okay, so you have to find moms who are willing to give donor breast milk. Second is the money. I don't have to explain anything more. Motivation, and I already felt it. You guys have tremendous motivation, and you have to have the motivation. This baby should not get the formula. That is your motivation, and everything you can do to prevent getting formula is the right thing to do. Of course, you need the machine. I already talked enough about the Kimi machine. And I should use the word woman power rather than the manpower. But just to make 5 M's, I said I speak it as manpower. But almost every place I've gone, there are ladies who are working as nurses and practitioner consultants and so on, with very rare exceptions. So these are the 5 things that you are going to need. I'm sure as you start working, there will be another thing that will come up and you will need those. Equipment. Preferably and not necessarily an air-conditioned room with a sink and a table. And I think your setup is fantastic. I do not have it at this level. You need the Kimi as the pasteurizer. You need a refrigerator, 2 kinds. One that is maintaining at 4 degrees or so, and another which is a deep freezer. So if you take an ordinary refrigerator, which a lot of our moms have at home, so if you put it on the top area, that will be minus 80 degrees, and the milk is frozen. If you leave it at lower one, the temperature is around 4 degrees, it will remain cold but not get frozen. So you need a refrigerator. If you have another frozen, refrigerator that can be freezing, thing is better. Because as you start using it, there will be more and more required. If you have a thaw machine that can thaw breast milk that is frozen, that is very good. And I think Akshay and they have developed a machine which I have not used. That is doing a good job. If you do not have that or it's not working, do not worry about it. Simple thing to do is take a container, plastic container, put hot water in it, and put your plastic bottle or plastic bag that you have collected milk in. Wait for 10-15 minutes, you can see the milk has already come. So very simple, that's what I do. I did not have this machine. You need expression pumps if possible, or teach the mom how to do manual expression. And nurses are very good in teaching moms and they can learn very easily. And we do provide breast pump at home, so they are able to express by using that. But some of them still prefer to use manual technique. Clean water, not sterile water. It should be clean water that you feel comfortable, I can drink this. Or at least there are no major concern with the water you are using. You will need some syringes, some sterile gloves, caps, mask and things like that. And last but not least important is the sterilization. So the tank and the cylinders, the metal cylinder that you have, they need to be clean periodically. Okay. So what do? You have 3 options. You can autoclave. So including the lid and the cylinder which is made out of steel, can be easily so talk if you have an autoclave system, you won't talk to the hospital administration and say, we would like to autoclave this. And they will tell you they have a dry autoclave system, some very sophisticated system and so on. They can autoclave it, no problem. Okay. If that is not available, and if you have a simple dishwasher, put this lids as well as the cylinders into it, put it in the dishwasher. And that creates temperature of 62.5 and so on. It will kill all the bacteria. Okay. So that is another simple thing. Or if you don't have either of them, okay, take a container with plastic, hot water, real hot water, put it into it, and put this lids as well as the cylinder in it for about 10 to 15 minutes. Take it out slowly, put it on a upside down on a clean towel, which can be just either paper or regular towel, and leave it there till it dries. You get rid of it. So all these three options are available to you, and I have used all of them at TCL level. Okay. So what are the sources of donor breast milk? So all of the breast milk banks that I know of in the United States get breast milk from moms who had a baby at full-term gestation, few weeks, sometimes even few months before. And these moms are making more milk than what their baby requires. Some people use the term called super producer. They are making a lot of milk. And there are some women that really make a lot of milk. Okay, so this is what is used normally in the breast milk banks in the United States. They will contact moms who have more milk, and I can tell you they're all 2-3 months or maybe definitely 4 weeks or beyond when they're giving breast milk. It's not the mom that I mentioned about premature. So other option you have is, as I mentioned, mother who has delivered a baby at preterm gestation. She is making more milk than what her baby needs, and baby is still in the NICU. And so there are basically two sources that you have in a very broad sense. So what are the issues with the donor one? Mother is screened for health problems under medical supervision, and the mother has to be altruistic or what is called benevolent reasons and wants to help other people. So that mother has to be also motivated that, yeah, I do want to have some other child. So donor screening is available. Actually, I have printed this in my handout. But it's a simple question, do you have this, do you have that, do you smoke, do you drink, and things like that. So based upon that, you can decide whether this is a good mother that you can get milk from, or maybe this is not a good one. And like I mentioned, hepatitis B would be a major strike not to use it. So recruitment is going to be a challenge, I can guarantee you, because there will be a lot of need for donor breast milk, and recruitment is a problem. So what people have done is use well baby clinics, and the moms bring their milk and see whether they have more milk available or not. There are some mother groups, support groups that are there in some places. Some people are recruiting from pediatric clinics. There are some lactation consultants who periodically go there and help them express milk. There are some stores. There are some in Los Angeles area where there are stores where moms come and buy infant formula, infant clothing, and things like that. They are called pump stations, so you can do that. You can use word of mouth. That actually helps very well. And you can use some social media. People have done it in newspapers, occasionally radio, TV, put some ad on the buses and all that. So you have to see what is that works for you, and whether you have resources to do all this kind of thing. But recruitment is an important issue. Collection and transport. Again, mom needs to be educated enough how to collect breast milk at home, how to store it and do it. I do not know how it is done right now, but it would be important to do that. So educate mom for the hygiene to express breast milk. Hand expression is okay, breast pump is fine, but as long as you use hygienic precaution, it will be nice. So there is no particular timing. You can just collect what is called the fore milk or hind milk. We decided not to worry about it. The container at home can be a plastic bag. It can be a plastic bottle or anything else that you are comfortable with, is fine. And home milk collection is not preferred. Like I mentioned earlier, if you can do it when she is visiting the NICU, that would be a good thing. Because chances are good that this will be done under better condition than what she is doing at home. Transport. Once mom has collected enough milk, they are taught how to leave it at 4 degrees or freeze it based upon how soon they bring it to the NICU. Yeah, they are supposed to bring it on ice. And the community is very, very close, and it's not a problem. But if it's anything more than 15, 20 minutes, then you should insist that she brings it on ice. Some people use ice packs, which are very easy. You can put it in the top section of the freezer, and that lasts for some time. So you can do that. Okay. So in the hospital, pre and post pasteurization storage is important. So if you are going to use the milk within the next 24 hours for the pasteurization, a regular refrigerator, which is 2 to 4 degrees centigrade, is fine. Okay? Which may be most of the time. But if you are not going to use pasteurize within the next 24 to 48 hours, you should put it in the deep freezer, which is the top compartment of the refrigerator, which has a temperature of less than 18 to 20 degrees. Okay? And post-pasteurization, similar thing. If you are going to use within the next 48 hours, you can leave it at the 4 degrees. If you are going to use after 48 hours, then you need to deep freeze it. Once you deep freeze it, it is good for a long time. Nobody has really studied, but if you look at the books, they will say 6 months or a year is fine. And I think even longer may be okay. Chances are very good you are not going to store that long, because there is a tremendous need for donor breast milk. So what is the milk processing? You bring it on the ice or frozen, thaw if necessary, either using by the machine or simple warm water that I mentioned. Prefer to have a single donor and better not to pull, which is what the milk banks do. So it's very interesting to me that if the mother is in the NICU, her baby is still in the NICU, she missed the mom who is not able to make the milk, and they develop camaraderie. They learn to tremendous friendship. So if you can just make that team or make that couple, that would be very nice. So then you pasteurize. You are going to use steaming, and you can take a sample of the milk and send it to bacterial cultures at the end of pasteurization, and then store it in the freezer or the refrigerator based upon how quickly you can get the results. So if your bacteriology lab is good and they can predict it very immediately, they will give you the answer within the next 24, maybe 48 hours. Most of them are. The problem is creating it rather than getting the results back. So look into the bacteriology lab and see how quickly they can give you the answer. And all they need to know whether there are any bacteria or not. You are not interested whether this is gram-positive, this is gram-negative, this is Staph aureus, this is Staph aureus, this is Klebsiella. They are not interested. We just want to know whether there are bacteria or not. That they can tell you very quickly whether there is something growing or not. So if it is negative, then you can obviously use the milk. And people say that if it is positive, you should try not to repasteurize. Just throw that milk away. Nothing. Informed consent. It's very important both ways, that the one who is giving the milk and the one who is going to receive the milk, you have an informed consent from both of them. And in the United States, people want to make sure that mom is not doing something, so let me put it this way, that mom has enough milk beyond what the child requires. And of course we don't pay them. In some places have started paying them, but the paying is not the motivation. So they need that there is a certification from the pediatrician or the obstetrician that she is making more milk. I don't know how important that is and whether it is necessary or not. Okay, most certain moms are not going to give milk until they are sure that their own child is getting milk. So you need to get a parental consent and must be obtained prior to giving to the baby. And you need to explain what are the perceived benefits, what are the precautions, potential risks involved, which are very minimum, and what are the real health advantages of giving milk compared to the formula or the bovine milk. And they will understand. They understand very well that using the formula is not a good thing. So I already mentioned about bacteriological testing, and this machine or this so-called pasteurization will get rid of all the bacteria and viruses except for Hep B and Bacillus species. So, like I mentioned, we have done more than 600, maybe 1,000 by this time cultures, and chances of being positive are something like 0.08%. And even the virulence of the bacteria or the viruses is decreased once you do the pasteurization. I already mentioned how to sterilize the stainless steel cylinders. By the way, I want to mention here that we intentionally use very special stainless steel material. We had a lot of discussion about this, and I said, we should not be using plastic. We should be using stainless steel so that they can be reused, they can be autoclaved, and so on. And that is the reason we do that. So you can autoclave it, check with your hospital system. You can use a dishwasher or just put it in hot water for 10 minutes. It will get rid of most of the viruses and bacteria. Data storage is important. You need to have all the information that you can have. So I would recommend you talk to your IT person and see how they can help you with this. You can use an Excel sheet and 1, 2, 3, 4 and on. I just use regular Microsoft Word. So I have a donor information, how old is she, what is her name, ID, and so on and so on. How many weeks postpartum and things like that. And I just continue to say, okay, today she brought in this much of milk. Next day or day after she brought this much of milk. So you keep a log of that. Then you say, okay, how much was that used to pasteurize? So you can maintain that on one particular patient in a just simple Microsoft Word. But if you want to be a little more sophisticated, you can use an Excel sheet. So one page for information about the donor, one page for the mom and the baby. So you need very simple information, Again, what is the weight, gestation age, how old is the baby is, and so on and so on. And then say, okay, how much milk was taken out and how much was actually used and so on. So you can develop your own system in a way, how to do the data storage. So to summarize very briefly, further pasteurization decreases the activity of few components of the breast milk, for example, secretory IgA, however not established that they are clinically relevant. Donor breast milk is a necessity, not a luxury anymore. Patients are aware and demand safe and cost-effective donor breast milk. Use of donor breast milk is not just limited to premature babies, there are other indications. And my vision again is to see that every NICU all over the world should have its own donor breast milk bank. You are going in the right direction. It is easy to do at a reasonable price with the availability of a portable, user-friendly pasteurizer like Kimi. I personally do not have any vested interest, except that it is good for the baby. So when I was doing all this thing, people told me, why didn't you have a patent on your own? I said, it's a headache for me. At UCL, they will drive it with me. And I'm not interested in making money. But I made a deal with Sudhir that every time he sells a machine, this is my interest, every time he sells a machine, he has to give 8% of the selling cost to the hospital where I work in India. And he has done that. And we use that for direct patient care. There are some families who can afford maybe 50% of the expenses, but not 100%. So we supplement. And I think they are very important. And Sudhir has been very particular. Every time he sells a machine, he sends me information that I gave this money to them. That will be. So take home message you already have. Biological mother's milk is still the Rolls Royce. Do not forget that, please. When biological mother milk is not available or insufficient, donor breast milk is the next best option. To ensure safe supply, regulated donor breast milk is the safest. Screening, pasteurization, bacteriological testing, and every hospital should have something like this. So, I've been in neonatology for a long time, 45 years or more. Things will change. Maybe some other pasteurizer will come with time. A lot of things are going to change, and they should change. Okay? 3 things that have remained constant are as follows. Carrying hands should not be carrier hands. So make sure you wash your hands. Even if you are going to use gloves, please at least 1 time, maybe 2 times, wash your hands and then you wash your face. That is very important. I heard that baseball is not that common, but in India, cricket and in USA, baseball are very common. The secret of winning a game is to keep an eye on the ball. So if you keep an eye on the fielder in the outfield, when the ball is in the sky, he does not blink. He does not blink until the ball is caught. And same thing in the NICU. I round with 20 babies sometimes. Just one may be very sick. 1 episode of hypoxemia, one episode of apnea may be a disaster that is. So when I'm rounding with 20 babies, and which can take 2 hours or so, in between I'll stop down and make sure that the baby that I was worried about is still living. So I call that as keeping an eye on the ball. And that is an important thing. Last but not least, do not ever give up. So I did not get my first NIH grant till I was about 45. I kept writing to them, oh, it's a good idea, but we don't have money. So thank you very much. Anyway, so finally I got the grant at the age of 45. So don't give up for it. At the same time, babies are resilient, they will not behave. With the exceptional infection, they can tolerate hypoxemia, acidosis, hypoglycemia, all kinds of things much better than I can do. I have a stroke, I'm gone. Okay, I have seen a couple of babies, one whole side of the brain is impacted. And when I followed them and see them in the clinic like 2 years, 1 year later, they're as bright as they can. I had some babies who came very close that they were going to stop the resuscitation. Somehow we did the right thing, the heart rate picked up. Babies survived and lived. So even that you do not give up. So you do not give up on your dream, you do not give up on the baby that is there. So these are 2 nurses who helped me a lot at my retention. By the way, I want to just mention one more thing. We had a baby born to a very famous actress, premature baby. Jeremy is his name. He developed jaundice, and we are using regular eye patches, which are, as you know, are very tight and baby cannot move his eyes and all that. So Nancy tried, she came to me and said, Dr. Gaskar, I'm not happy the way you have put these patches on my baby's eyes. This should be something better than that. I said, you know what, you're right, you should do that. So I talked to again people in Pune, not this group, another group. I said, I need to develop eye covering device that can be like a goggles, as you can see here, that will keep the baby from not moving the iris. So we did that, and instead of goggles, we called it as eagles. And we have developed this fantastic device. It's been used in India for many hospitals now. And during the phototherapy, we actually did a study also, and we are able to see that babies do much better. They feed much better. They have tremendous freedom. Their eyes are not closed all the time, and things like that. So this is another thing that we very recently did. All right, this is the last slide for sure. Thank you. I will pass that later. Thank you very much.
And also, I want to know, after pasteurization, we want to transfer the milk to the fridge.
Yeah.
What is the process?
Yeah. Good question, right? A very important one. So after the pasteurization is done, okay, you have to decide how quickly you are going to use it. Now, if you are going to do the bacterial culture, then you should leave it at 4 degrees and wait till the cultures come back. If you are not going to do the bacterial culture, you can decide, are you going to use it immediately or are you going to store it? So I remove it from the metal container into plastic bottles or anything that is available. And sometimes they are very small, what is called volume free. So I talked to the nurse, how much is the baby getting feedings? And she said, okay, this baby is getting 5 cc every 3 hours. Okay? So within the next 24 hours, 5 times 8 is going to be 40 cc. And you will need some extra for the tubing, another extra, 1 cc or so. Right? Okay, for the next 24 hours, I need 45, maybe 50 cc's of milk. So I will leave it in that container. And the nurses will keep taking it out. Okay? If you're going to do it for 48 hours, you say, oh, from 5 cc, you may go to 8 cc. Fine. So first you calculate for 5, then you, for the next day, you do it for 8. So pasteurized milk is good for 48 hours at 2 to 4 degrees. Okay. If you are not going to do that, then you freeze it. So rest of the milk is taken, you freeze it at minus 18 or less than that. That's all it is. I hope I'm answering your question. Okay. So again, based upon how much you are using, you may need more than one bottle, and then freeze it. Because once you thaw it, generally people don't use it again. I will talk about it September when we do the things. Okay, any other question?
Yeah.
Yes, madam. Oh, sir.
The antenatal screening that is done on the mothers prior to delivery, is it enough to qualify them to do the donation, or at the point of donation, there's a need for a mother screening again?
So all the information that I mentioned, hepatitis B, C, HIV, and all that, is all done during pregnancy. So we just have to look at the child. Okay. That information is generally good for 6 months. So if the mom is hepatitis B negative, you can be sure during pregnancy that she'll be negative. If she's HIV negative, same thing. Okay. So we take all the information from the mom. We do not do any testing after the baby is born. It is better not to bring up the idea about donation at that time. She has so many other things to worry about. You do not want to add another pressure on them. So, and also you do not know whether this mom will have enough milk for her own baby or not. So better to wait, let the thing get settled, and then you bring up the issue. But if you are doing a good job in collecting milk, you should have enough already stored that you can immediately use. So again, not talk about it during pregnancy. It will add another tension for mom. That's a question there? Yes, madam.
I also have a little question. I have the mic, sorry.
Okay.
Mine is more of a comment, and I think that we need to look at the cultural dimensions of donor milk banking. We talked about informed consent, and from the little that I know from tradition, being a Ghanaian myself, people breastfeed other people's children all the time, directly. They don't pasteurize it or anything. So I'd be very interested if here, as part of the work that we're doing, we look at how informed consent would encourage or otherwise discourage mothers from donating, because that's one thing I foresee, that the minute you start talking about doing an informed consent, then people begin to raise eyebrows as in, am I going to get paid for this, or is there a problem that I should know about? So let's watch it.
So at least in the United States, you need a consent. Even in India, we need the consent. Because you do not want to be in the situation that subsequently mom says, I was not aware of this, I was not aware of that. So I think it's very important to get it. Just explain very briefly that you're okay with this. Yeah. But if it is not necessary here, I don't have time. Develop a very simple form. Madam, you have a question.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. I want to find out, once the pasteurization is over and then you do the test and it is positive, what do you do to the milk?
Throw it.
You throw it. Okay, thank you.
People prefer not to pasteurize it.
Okay.
Just discard them.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Then you had a question here? Yes.
Please let me also say thank you for the presentation. I want to find out if somebody has the desire to donate but comes and she's not really lactating, are there any means of helping to boost, like giving metoclopramide or something? Is it part of the, what do you call it, the protocol? I want to find out.
How you can help her bring more milk?
Yes.
I do not know much about the medication. I know they give it. So it's more of an obstetric question rather than the newborn question. But I think they use Reglan and some other medication available to express bring more milk.
Yes. So is it part of the protocol? If a woman comes and she's not getting enough, are you supposed to give her something to boost?
Yeah. So I refer them to their obstetrician. I say you talk to them. I'm baby doctor, not your doctor. But I am independent.
Hi. So I'm aware that one of the biggest issues in this process is simply obtaining donor milk, and which makes me curious kind of about the numbers of the whole process. How many full-term women are aware that they're producing enough milk to even potentially donate? And then from there, how good of a job are we doing at informing them that they're a part of the population that has the potentiality to donate?
Yes. So it's a very important question, and I mentioned certain things that you can sort of advertise, is just the right word. You know, you can go to the clinic, you can go to the pediatrician's office, for example, you can put it in the newspaper. So you have to increase the awareness. But some moms, they know on their own. They're making a lot more now. They can just say, no, my breast is very congested even after I have fed my baby. So they are called, quote unquote, super producers or something like that. So I think once they know that their breast milk can be used, then they will be motivated. So I get a lot of calls from moms, you know. I have a lot of now, can you do something like it? And I say yes, bring it and I can pasture it and use it. But that is very important to maintain the flow. Yes, you had a question?
Thank you. Please, with regards to the sources of donor breast milk, about the preterm mothers who can donate. So for the preterms, you cannot really determine the number of days they may spend in NICU. So for the mothers who would want to donate, how sure are we that in their donating the breast milk, at a point you also don't run out of breast milk for their own babies in the NICU? And then also my second question is if there's a maximum expiration date for the pasteurized breast milk, especially for our preterms in the NICU.
Okay.
And my last question is for the plastic bottles.
I hope I can remember that. I will be 76 in July.
So for the plastic bottles,
yeah.
Is there a particular plastic type?
Yeah.
Because mothers coming will donate in different bottles and then bring it, but because of the heat, the cooling, the heating, is there any particular component that we should be aware of in the plastic production? Thank you.
Yeah. So in terms of storing it, you can use whatever you want. You can use plastic bag. We have used sometimes even glass bottles. You know, whatever you're comfortable with, you can store it in that. Once you pasteurize it, and if you're going to use it within the next 48 hours, you can leave it at 40 days. And they, of course, nurses will warm it before they give it away, bring it to 37 degrees or something like that. If you're not going to use within 48 hours, then you freeze it at the higher temperature. That is good for a long time. People are not studied how long is long. I think once you freeze it is good for long. But 6 months is very easily up to a year. Like I said, there will be so much need for it. You are not going to use storage for long. Okay? So that is your first question. Last question. Other question you had was?
On the preterm mothers.
Yes, the preterm mother. Okay. See, the baby that is newborn, just born, right? Because very small amount. Sometimes we start with 1 cc every 3 hours. After some time we go to 2 cc's every 3 hours, right? So the need is very small. And we can pasteurize even 5 cc's of milk. So I can assure you that if the mother is bringing enough milk for her baby, you just have to motivate her. And if you're doing in the NICU, you say, can you express some more. They say, how much do you need? 10 cc's. Fine, you can do that. So most of the time, from our experience, they're able to do. They're not aware of it. Okay? So I was doing another study related to this. So when I was talking to the nurses, I said, how much can a mom express? No. So nurses told me it depends upon what you tell them. You say, okay, I want you to express 50 cc, they will do 50. I want you to do 100 cc, they will do 100. So just try to motivate them and they will do. So that is not that difficult. Your other question was?
That's the component with regards to the bottle.
Yeah. So we are trying to stay away from plastic as much as possible, but it is not easy to do. And that is why we decided to have metal, which is a very specific stainless steel material that is used. That's why we are using that. Okay. Yes, sir.
A practical question. In your NICU, what is the exit point for an experienced woman on donor breast milk? Is it that when they get to 32 weeks, when do you switch? Assuming the baby is going to receive only donor breast milk.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
I'm just saying that if you have an extreme preterm baby.
Yeah. When do you stop giving donor milk?
Yes.
Okay. Good question. Important. So answer as follows. Number one answer is when the baby is ready to go home. Okay, we cannot give donor breast milk at home. I mean, it can be done. I have done it a couple of times, especially the skip baby that I was talking about. So it can be done. Okay, but generally we do not prefer to give donor breast milk when the mom is gone. Now, in our setup, most of the time, these babies are corrected gestational age of about 35 weeks. Okay. So if the baby is still in the hospital until 35 weeks, we continue to give donor breast milk. But if the baby is likely to go home, which sometimes happens at 34 weeks, and even happens at 32 weeks sometimes, then we stop at that point. So the advantages of donor breast milk beyond 34 weeks are questionable. Definitely questionable. So this issue comes up a lot in our NICU because we are still importing from donor breast milk in San Jose, and that costs like $7 per ounce plus shipping. So when are we going to stop? Now some mothers, they want to continue giving it, and we do that. But around 34 weeks, 35 weeks would be a reasonable time. By the time baby has developed enough maturity and things like that.
So,
Yes.
so my question is, so say that a mom has like a 2-year-old and is still lactating, can that mother still donate milk?
Yes, it's
Depending on
possible.
the quality, because we normally know the older the babies get, the quality of milk comes down. So
Yeah.
is that mom a candidate for
Yeah.
donation?
So, at least in my setup, 2 years is very unlikely, but up to 1 year, maybe 14 months, a lot of moms do that. So again, if they have more milk than what their baby requires, you can pasteurize it, no problem with that. Absolutely. It's still better than using formula.
It's an interesting question that came before mine because my baby is 2 years, but I'm still lactating.
Yes.
And I'm going to be number 1 on the list for the donation.
Thank you so much. We need more moms like you.
So, one of the contributions that I would like to make is that we usually want mothers to stay away from plastics that contain BPA.
Yes.
And so you should get BPA-free bottles. That's very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And then the other thing is that usually within we actually need to really collaborate with the Ops and Gynae team to be able to establish this breast milk donation very well, because the time for bumper harvest is actually within the first 6 weeks. And that is when you usually have help even around at home. So you can make time, you rest a little bit more, and so you can have more breast milk. Usually after 6 weeks, naturally your support system starts dwindling bit by bit.
Yes, absolutely.
And so we need to get them on board. If we get them on board, it's going to really help us. And the other thing that I would like to, I think it's
Your comment is well taken, well made. So no, we have to work as a team, and we have to be in communication with the obstetrician. But they can be very helpful. They can be very helpful talking to the mom how important it is for them to give them. Yes.
One of the main questions that I had is based on the ideology that, these children will be getting milk, but do we know if it's going to be a specific match? So one of the questions I had is like, all these women are donating breast milk. Is it something where you match a woman with one of the premature children, or is it something where you just stockpile it and it is indifferentiable?
I'm not sure I understood exactly what the question is.
So the basis of my question is, when you are initially pairing a premature baby or a baby with donated breast milk, is it something where the donator will be paired with specific children, or is it something where you stockpile that breast milk and it's just all of it is indifferentiable of each other?
Okay. So when the donor mom's baby is still in the NICU, or maybe recently went home or so, you can pair that with the new baby. Mom and mom can get to know each other. But if that is not possible, then you get milk from mom who had a baby at full-term gestation. And that time, you don't know who the donor is, because chances are very good that you have collected the milk, already pasteurized and kept it stored. So that mother will not come to know who the milk is going to. And that recipient will also not know when they're doing it. So only when the baby is in the NICU and mom is still there.
So could the baby have milk from several different mothers?
It's possible. Yeah. But generally we have seen that one mom, one baby works out pretty well. Well, you're doing for a short time. Till the natural mother milk comes in. So 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, something like that.
Is it possible to transfer frozen milk to smaller, more isolated facilities so that it can be used in more isolated areas?
As long as you're putting it on ice, it's fine. But if you use the pack that I mentioned, ice pack, that's even better because it lasts for a longer period. So yeah, you can do that. So for example, you have a donor breast milk bank here. Somebody wants to, let's say there is another hospital 10 miles from here. They are interested in doing donor breast milk. We can pasteurize them and give back to them. So they can send it in any way you want to do. Okay. So I give the example in Los Angeles. It's a major problem, right? So this family I mentioned, 14 months that I give donor breast milk. Okay. They were living in an area which is north of our hospital, like 1.5 hour drive. Okay. So mom or the dad, Michelle or her husband will bring them out to UCLA. Okay. On ice with the pack. I will carry that to the hospital which is south of UCLA, another 45 meters. So it's basically a relay. So they'll bring me, I will pressurize, bring it back. So we would meet at a gas station. Okay. We tried it in the hospital, it didn't work out. The parking people gave me a lot of trouble. You cannot be here for a long time. And to coordinate is not easy. Right? I said, what, we just meet at a gas station. So we meet at a gas station. So as long as it is on 4 degrees, it's fine. It can be in any number of hours. Yes?
So how affordable is this as an option? Like how much will the mothers have to pay, and is it still like affordable to vast majority versus like other options?
So you're talking about paying the mom?
No, is it them paying for the donated breast milk? Like
okay. Different hospitals do it differently. Okay. At least in most of the hospitals in California and upstate all over the USA, donor breast milk cost is included in the daily cost, whatever it is. That sometimes it's fixed $2,000 a day, no matter what you do. You can do ventilator care, nitric oxide, whatever. Okay. Surgery is different. So it is included in there. Some places in India actually charge me because it is not free for them to do all this thing. You need a technician and a storage facility and so on. I don't know how much they charge, but they do some charge. In India, it is illegal to pay a mom to give her breast milk. That is not true in USA. I know a company called Prolacta. They actually pay moms to give donor breast milk. People are very critical about that because moms will give it even at the cost of their own child because you are paying them. So there is no regulation. But in India, it's very clear you cannot buy milk from the mom. You have another question? Yeah.
Very quick, I promise this will be my last question.
No, go ahead.
I was very curious, so as we discussed numerous times, it's a very low supply but a very high demand. So I was wondering if there was a particular accessibility order that you would determine in order for children that may need it more or babies that may need it more have priority, or how would that usually be given considering the low supply?
Yeah, so we don't have any specific criteria for the priority. It's all first come, first serve, and who really needs it. The smaller the baby, the more is the need. But most of the time, at least it's expensive, but we are able to get milk from the donor breast milk bank in San Jose and now in San Diego. Yeah. So there is a shortage. I told you, it cost me $7, $6 per ounce plus shipping cost. And then they are not available on the weekend and the holidays and things like that. But at least for now, they are able to give that now. It may not last for long. Yeah, you had a question or comment?
Yes, okay. So this is another contribution. Nigeria has also started breast milk banking. Okay. And one of the things that is to help inclusivity and then also make it more acceptable on religious grounds is to also pull based on, so consider maybe Muslims because they may not take breast milk from non-Muslims. So that's another thing that has to be considered as we've started the breast milk banking here at UGMC. So that we have, as we pick, once you know the donor, you know is a Muslim woman. If somebody comes and is in need, it's better you let them know that you have this available, and then it makes it more acceptable and easy for them to go along because they need it. And we want to solve problems while we put all.
So point well made. I was not a know who are going to be used. But that that one mom does not know where the milk is coming from. But if it is very important, I think it's worth explaining that this is what it is. If you think this is a potential conflict. When the baby is in the NICU, it's a totally different situation because they come to know each other, they talk to each other. But I think this is a good point. Okay, any other questions?
So thank you very much.
Okay,
everyone.
thank you so much.
It's been a very to be very nice pictures as well. So we are all meeting at Menzies Hotel. I'm looking at you. I would like to see you. Okay. And we invite Dr. Sam to give us the closing prayer.
Shall we pray? In gratitude, we pray that you bless everybody here, bless all our general sponsors, both in cash and kind. We pray that you give us traveling mercies as we go home. We also want to thank you for the children who are going to be beneficiaries of this wonderful project. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. So there's before Men's Day, we are going to have a small packed lunch